Hello everyone, Josh here with Exodus Network, bringing y'all another Outer Plane video, and today we're going to be talking about the top fire heroes in the entire game. Now, we already did water element, we're doing fire now. I meant to do it yesterday, I do apologize. We are a bit delayed around here, lots of things going on. Either tomorrow or the next day, I will do earth, and then we'll finish off this little mini-series with light and dark together, since there's not very many units in either element at this time. So that's how we're going to do this little series going forward. The account that I'm currently on right now, in case some of you are probably up there looking at my stamina like, bro, why do you have 61 max stamina? What have you been doing? This is our free-to-play series, episode 1 account that I made a video for earlier today. Definitely go check that out. A lot of fun stuff that we plan to do with this account for our little free-to-play series. But let's go ahead and get into the actual topic of today, and that is, what heroes are the best in the fire element? Now, I have 3 that stand out to me personally that are just above the rest in terms of overall playability, usability, and what they have to offer to your account in terms of progression. And it's going to be a lot of fun talking about these 3 heroes, 2 of which we don't really need to go over. I'm sure a lot of you already know who they are, so we could probably just, skim over them and talk more on the 3rd one, which might be a bit of a surprise to some of you. But first, we have a couple honorable mentions. So starting up here at the top right, we have Naru King. Naru King is such a mystery. This unit is shrouded in so much mystery because this hero has the potential to do great things. But I don't think the game as of yet is ready for it, right? She has this power that we just cannot unleash yet. And the reason why I say that is because a majority of players just are not at that level of endgame yet when it comes to their gear. Like, they don't have full-on 6-star legendary gear, reforged, breakthrough, outside of the big whales and krakens that can do it right now. But the majority of players just cannot do that yet. And they can't do that with multiple units, because once you are able to do that, there is a team out there, a strong stall team, that might surface at some point, and she's going to be one of the main stars, one of the main attractions of that team. So she's going to be part of a future that we're just not there yet. But when we get there, you're going to see a lot more of Naru King. And some of you have already experienced in small doses what Naru King can do in terms of PvP and PvE, because once she gets that ultimate off, if she's able to, and there's nobody around that can strip those buffs away from her, she becomes an absolute animal. She's going to have 3 turns of damage immunity and debuff immunity. So once she pops down, she lowers her HP all the way down to 1%. Yeah, she's going to have like no HP, but you can't touch her. If you cannot strip her, you cannot touch her. She will just annihilate you, right? And a lot of the meta right now in PvP, what's the main DPS that you see running around a lot? It's Noah, right? She's going to destroy Noah because she's doing all this single target damage with her skill 1, her skill 2. Her skill 2, by the way, has a freaking defense break on it, on top of scaling to the missing health. Absolutely insane. And if you have healers, other tanks, or anything like that to kind of support and prop her up, a Cindy to extend her ultimate to give her an additional turn, making it 4 turns, like, there is so many creative and disgusting things that we could do with Naru King in the future that a lot of us just cannot do yet because we're limited on resources and it's going to take some time. But when we are able to finally establish a team like that, or teams like that, Naru King is going to shine. So she's a hero that has very good future potential. It just has not been reached yet, but it will hopefully within the next few months. And I cannot wait, because I think Naru King is going to be a lot of fun. She has a lot of untapped potential that I cannot wait to see unleashed. All right, the other honorable mention, another tank, go figure, Kate. You could argue that she could be considered in that top tier, but the reason why she's not is just how much value these other 3 heroes are providing you overall in comparison to what just Kate is providing. Now, Kate is providing you quite a bit. So that just goes to show that the next 3 units that we talk about, the top tier ones, are just crazy in terms of usability, utility, support, anything that you could think of, they're providing. Kate is almost at that level, just not quite. If she did one more thing, I might consider having to move her up into that top tier. But as of right now, she's going to be an amazing tank for you because she's going to be reliable for her barriers. her barriers are on a 2-turn cooldown, and her barriers are for 2 turns, and they scale to the highest stat you could possibly imagine, and that is max HP, which is very, very good, which means your your barriers are going to be very, very strong. She also picks up a resilience as well for your team, which is huge. So you won't have to rely as much on cleansing, which is great. Her ultimate provides you with a reliable stun for 1 to 2 turns, depending on how high your burst level can get. If you're like a 5-star Kate, I believe you can burst level 3 for 2 turn stuns, which is nice. And her chain and her skill 1 also provides effectiveness up, which is going to just better help her kit. And I think her first skill is for everybody, right? Yeah, it's for all allies. So that'll help all of your debuffers on your team. So she's got an incredible kit. I consider the top 3, top 4 tank in the entire game. Obviously, we have units like Leo up there. We have units like Veronica. We just talked about Naru Kang's potential in the future as well. So there's some really solid tanks in this game. And I consider her one of the better ones. So that's really, really solid. Now, before we get to the top 3 heroes, I do want to say that the reason why Lisha, Kay, Iris, Party, Fenrir, and Guzum did not make it to the honorable mentions list is because they all just kind of have too many faults. They're not going to have enough usefulness overall for assortment of different types of content. They're just not going to be, I'd consider good at what they do over other units that just do it better. They're just too niche for me to consider, moving up to that honorable mention. The only one of those that I just listed that I feel might be able to push up a little bit and maybe crack that honorable mention list is Party. And the reason why I say Party is because if you go over here and look at her stats, she's got 985 for a 2-star hero, which is really strong. She's not slow. She's got like that 3rd or 4th tier in speed, 129, which isn't bad. And she's going to be providing you a lot of good damage for an area like Chimera 10, which is going to be the most farmed location as of right now in the entire game, because everybody's trying to get speed gear on all of their characters, because right now the game is pretty much ran by the speed meta. And that's not just for PvP, that's for PvE as well. Speed, speed, speed. She's going to be a really strong DPS for that, even over Iris, who I consider being a better burn unit, but she's more for AoE because her skill 2 and 3 are AoE, whereas Party is all single target. She can also detonate her burns that she gets on her skill 1, which is nice. So she's going to be providing with really solid damage in an area like Chimera 10, but it's still very niche. That's why I don't really, want to put her on that next level. I don't want to put her at that, honorable mention list, even though a lot of you might argue that she deserves it, because she is going to be a very strong DPS, at least for that specific area. She might find some good areas outside of that she could be useful in as well, but that's definitely one of the prime locations that I would personally build her for, but I just don't think it's enough to consider her on that second level, that honorable mention list. But let's finish it off with our top 3, the top tier fire heroes. Now, a lot of you already know 2 of them, right? It's Valentine and it's Theo. I mean, we're not going to even really talk much about them. We already know all about Valentine. We've talked about her a million times here on the channel. She's even on our tier list at #1 overall, alongside Noah, for being the best hero in the entire game as of right now. I have a very hot take, controversial take for Valentine for the future that we might make a video for. I'm sure a lot of you are scratching your head wondering, like, what are you talking about, bro? We'll get to it, and trust me, it's going to be a doozy, but it's going to make a lot of sense when I'm done. Trust me. But we'll talk about that later on. Theo, another unit we don't really need to discuss. She's a top 10, top 15 hero in the entire game. She's got so much utility in her kit. She's providing you with priority up with her EE. She's giving you free heals. She's giving you AoE cleanse. I mean, she's giving you big heals, single target. She's doing a lot of things for you, for your team, keeping them alive and helping you get through a lot of the debuff heavy teams and enemies that we have to face in this game. So she's just very, very good at what she does. So those 2 units we're not going to talk much about. You already know about them. A unit that you may not know about, our girl Claire. This unit has surprised me so much, and you're going to see more of Claire here on the channel very, very soon, because I have her built up on my main account. I already have her EE. We're doing some crazy things with her. Now, initially, a lot of us, if we heard the name Claire, you're just associating that with Chimera 10. Oh, she's going to be amazing for Chimera 10. That's true. She is. That alone would put her, right below that honorable mention tier, if not on the honorable mention tier. But what else she's providing you in other areas of the game that I was not aware of. Because when you first look at her, she doesn't look all that impressive, especially on paper, with her base stats being so low for attack, which is what she scales to for her ultimate. However, when you look a little bit deeper and you actually put her in practice and you see the kind of units that you're going to be surrounding her with, she's actually very impressive in a lot of content. I mean, she's out there cheesing. She's stalling hard on some of these bosses, allowing you to get through them that maybe you should not be able to beat. She's allowing you to beat them. In tower, in story, I mean, she's doing some crazy things. Now, in PvP, yeah, you're not going to use her because we don't have a stall meta yet. But if we did, you might, but not right now. So in PvP, yeah, you're not going to really use her. But everywhere else, she's solid. So her skill 1 gives her an attack up for 2 turns, which is 30%. Now, her base attack is 530. Keep that in mind. Her base attack is quite low. It's at 530 at base. But she does give herself an attack up, 30%, and then another 10% from her passive. So she's giving herself 40% attack up. 40% of her 530. That will be her new base after you've used her skill 1 and it triggers. So that would be her new attack base. So that, you know, I wasn't really accounting for that originally, but that kind of then puts her up a little bit higher than she is now. It's still going to be pretty low, but way better than it was originally, which then helps with her shields being a lot better and more sustainable. And another thing that I was not really looking into that really made me just kind of overlook her for a while was her EE. Her EE, every time she crits, she lowers the cooldown of all of her skills by 1. Now, why is that important? Well, if you look at her ultimate, it's a 4-turn cooldown, and her skill 2 is a 3-turn cooldown, right? And all of her buffs are for like 2 turns, right? You know, barriers for 2 turns, sustained healing for 2 turns, yada, 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 her attack up for 2 turns, whatever. But this doesn't have a cooldown because it's a basic, obviously. But if she crits, if you're running her with like a Valentine, for example, or if she just has decent crit on her and she crits, she's going to be turning that 3-turn cooldown into a 2-turn cooldown, which means you're going to constantly have sustained recovery uptime all the time. And if you have burst level 1 on her, that sustained recovery becomes AoE for the entire team. 15% healing twice. That is absolutely insane. And that's for your entire team. And then on her ultimate, you're going to just have, you know, pretty constant barriers as well. So even if they get broke after 1 or 2 hits, she's going to be able to put it up again not too long after, because you're going to be turning that 4-turn cooldown into a 3 or a potential 2-turn cooldown, depending on how often you're critting and how often you're going, you know, how often you're cycling through your skills and how fast your Claire actually is, because you could put a bunch of speed on her. Even with her base speed being low, you can still get up high enough in PvE to where she's still going a lot more often throughout the entirety of the fight than she would without. So there's a lot of things that you're doing in her kit that make her very, very solid. You're spamming healing for not only herself, but your team. You're giving her attack up, which is strengthening her barriers to make them more durable. You're spamming the barriers. And then if you burst, you know, that heal becomes AoE. You're giving them action points plus 25, which also helps herself to burst again when her skill is ready to go. And then she also picks up a cleanse if you get her to level 5. I'm sorry, to get her to a 5-star, which is not going to be too difficult because she's a 1-star hero, so she needs less shards. So there you guys and gals have it. And since she's also a 1-star hero, you're going to be pulling her way more often because you know how the rates are when you go to summon. You pull a lot of 1-star heroes. So for a 1-star hero and what she's able to do is absolutely insane. And then she's also one of only 3 heroes currently in the game that during Transcend, she picks up speed. She gets 15 speed during Transcension. That's awesome. So when you Transcend her, you get 15 speed. One of only 3 heroes in the game. I think Fanon and Shu are the other 2. That's it. Those are the only heroes that pick up additional speed through Transcending. That's awesome. So I really love Claire. A lot more than I initially thought I would, and a lot more than I ever thought I would, because again, I overlooked her kit a little bit. I thought more about it. I theory crafted. I put her in some teams, and wow, she has been shocking me and surprising me, leaving me in awe sometimes. I've even shown her on stream in the Discord, showing people what she's capable of, how much sustain she's offering your team, how much she's keeping your team alive in comparison to a unit like Teo, which we already know is like a top 10, 15 hero. If you can compare a 1-star hero to a unit like Teo, who we consider top 10, top 15, if you can even compare her, even put her name in the same sentence, you know the unit's good. And again, 1-star hero. We had to give Claire her flowers in today's video. I had to make it a point to give her some time to really sit there and talk and break her down, because she is incredible. Just exceeded all expectations for me. Not just for Chimera 10, but for other content as well. If you are building up Claire, you will not be disappointed. She can do some crazy things, especially if you unlock her EE, lowering all of her cooldowns every time she crits. Incredible hero. Did not expect that to happen, but yeah, best 1-star hero in the game. I mean, we don't really need to even talk about that. It is what it is. So that's it for my list. Let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Would you change anything? Would you bump some up to honorable mentions? Would you bump some of our honorable mentions down? Would you change around any of our top 3 heroes that we discussed here as top tier fire heroes? Would you move Claire out of that list? Would you move another hero up the list? I don't know. Let me know all that and more in the comment section below. And if you've used any of these heroes, have you been enjoying them? Is there some things that maybe I left out or missed? Again, I'll be glad to read as many of those as I can. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tick notifications, join us in the Discord and description below as always, and follow us on Twitter at X's Network. I will have the Earth element next, either tomorrow or the next day. So stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you on the next one. Until then, peace.